Hi, everybody. This is Christina Lynn with Mystery's Mystical Cupboard, and I am joined by my partner.
Hi, I'm Kayla.
And we're just going to have some conversations back and forth so that maybe we can clear up some things that are happening in our community. Uh, Maybe answer some questions that are kind of hard to figure out, maybe learn something from each other, and hopefully you can learn something from us.
All right.
So I'm going to start with you, Kayla, because I know I have quite a bit more experience. Not to put you down, that's not my intention at all. I know I have a little bit more experience in the community on the path that I've been walking than maybe you do. So, what questions do you have that I might be able to answer?
Well, one main question I think is always hard for me is like how to figure out if you're looking more towards faith or practice. That was my first question I was looking for when I started. So my question, I guess, to you is, what was your start like?
Honestly, that's an excellent question. I'm going to answer it and then I'm going to turn around and ask you, because everybody's path story kind of just it's different. Everybody finds the path that they're on uniquely to them. And there's never, I mean, it's like, how many ways can you get to New York? Well, how many roads are there that go east? So
right.
I'm really interested in how you found the path that you're on. And then I think we should share how we met each other and found out about our commonalities. So I came from a very conservative background. I was raised LDS, and I remember it's so weird. I practice as a faith as well as a practitioner. And what I mean by that is you can be into the craft, and that's what I'm going to use it as. I'm going to talk about the craft as just a practice. And then when I talk about paths, I'm going to be talking about a faith. Okay, so that way we have some idea. I found the craft very, very early on, and it was really weird. So again, I was raised LDS, and magic is not something that you talk about. It's not something that's, I mean, Mormons are weird. We have our own kind of magic as Mormons, and it's nothing like the craft. Like we have magic underwear. You wear them and you're protected from bullets and knives and fires and rape and stuff like that. They have it's really weird. Okay.
You used to have your magic underwear?
No, I actually never got my temple vestments. I should have, but I left the church very early on. But when I was young, I remember thinking, this is so weird. I remember thinking that something magical about me. And in particular, like I had this innate ability, I had two of them, okay, innate ability to find wayward items. It didn't matter what it was. Somebody could look at me and say, I need to find this. And I would be able to tell them exactly where it was. I'd go over and pick it up. I'm like, here you go. Not ever having seen it. It happened quite a bit when I was younger. And I remember looking at my mom and going, I think I'm a witch. And, that was a dirty word right there. And she's like, no, that's not
dare you?
Possible. Those don't exist. So that was one, finding wayward items. And then the other one is I had the ability to predict. And I know there are going to be skeptics out there because I am a huge skeptic, and we'll get into that in our conversations too. But I had the ability to predict songs on the radio. Before the radio didn't even have to be on. I'd be just like singing something, and like the car got turned on, and we had like an old 87 Buick. Turn on the car, and they had those punch keys in the 87 Buick. And my stepdad would punch a key and change the radio station, and that song would be on. not at the same place, but I would be singing that song, and then like it happened one too many times for for comfort. So
Yeah.
when I was younger, that was like I was like, oh, I know something about me. And I remember looking at one of my friends, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm a witch, you know. It's just stuff happens. Stuff happens to me. And then as I got older, I'm gonna date myself, but practical magic came out. Okay.
Oh man.
Practical magic came out, and I remember looking at my mom and going, I I remember telling you I think I'm a witch, and she's like, no, that's not. It's not funny. That's not something to joke about. It's not. You know, nobody's a witch. Witches don't exist. Not like that. I was like, okay. And then like 3 weeks after my aunt went and saw this movie, um, my mom like cleared out our local bookstore of all Silver Ravenwolf books. Okay, I like to joke that my mom paid for Silver Ravenwolf's mortgage at least twice. 2 months worth of mortgage because my mom had almost everything by Silver Ravenwolf. I even had Silver Ravenwolf. I still have Silver Ravenwolf. She was the first book I got. My mom gave it to me on my 13th birthday, which was that's traditionally the coming of age for uh, I believe what is now considered Wiccan girls. If you're going to raise Wiccan children, you know, their thought is you became a woman at 13, that's your rite of passage, that's your age. So that was my first book. I got Teen Witch. Um, and my mom just dived like head in. And I remember thinking to myself, hey, I thought this wasn't cool. I thought this wasn't, something to get into. And then like overnight, my mom passed on all the teachings of the church. We became pagan in the household. We had groups over at our house to do ritual. I dated a pagan boy, like all of this stuff. My mom was
That's
even
awesome.
my mom was even brought onto television uh to for a couple of newscasts to um interpret Futhark runes because like there was this it was local news. It was back in 2000, 2001, something like that. And this really creepy guy was writing a newscaster letters and using Futhark runes. And my mom had such an affinity for runes that she learned how to read them. Like on site, she could sight read the Futhark runes. And of course, she scried with them, all this kind of stuff. Like she made tiles galore with Futhark runes. So she saw this letter on the news. She called it, was like, I can read that. I know what that says. And she, the newscaster lady came over. And we all sat down and talked. And my mom was on the news for a couple of episodes going over Futhark runes. So like we were in it. And then
dived headfirst.
Like my mom does all or nothing. Okay. So we kids were we left our Mormonism behind, and we dived into paganism. And as we got older, my mom drew further and further away from paganism, but most of us kids stay. So I have been practicing for like ever. That like I've gone up to people and asked to become an apprentice, and they're like, well, we need to test your knowledge. And I'm like, well, I've learned out of books. And even that, they are surprised at how much I know because I haven't ever had proper teachings. But I mean, I'm a subscriber to, books hold power and words are power. And, if you can absorb a book, you can absorb a power. So why isn't that form of knowledge acceptable? So I have had teachers, but honestly, like my practice, my craft has been pretty much based on what I've learned and my history studies because I'm big into history. History and I are like,
buddy.
We are. If I can't find a historical reference, I will find a historical reference. So that's what my craft is. My path, though, has evolved since my coming of age. You know, when you read some of the books that are out, especially in the 90s when I was coming up, uh, it was a whole lot of wickedness and wickedness, that, wickedness and wickedness, that. And I learned very quickly that to associate myself as a pagan, not as a Wiccan, because Wiccan is a specific path, and I was not of an age where I could handle what that path entailed. Um, and even up until a couple of years ago, I was staunchly against the term Wiccan. I would call myself a mystic, which in the those who don't know in the community is somebody who builds their own faith from other pieces. I considered myself a mystic druid because I did a lot of earth healing magics. Again, my faith was built by myself with other pieces of faith, things that made sense and would cohesively work together. And only recently have I actually decided that maybe I should look into Wiccan, and more importantly, initiatory Wiccan, which is really hard to get into. It is a closed faith path. You have to know someone, you have to be initiated to be considered part of that faith. So I know that we're going to talk about that as well. Um, so yeah, that's how I got my start. And how about you? How did you find your craft and your path?
All right, let's see. Well, I was raised Presbyterian, but my parents weren't really like super strict on it.
Mm-hmm.
We went to church a handful of times. My dad was very keen on me going to like youth group. I went because my dad would pay for me to go on the field trips. That's the only reason I really cared for any kind of church or faith-based type thing at the time. But I always really liked learning about like plants and herbs, and my mom taught me at a young age like what like the benefits of a lot of herbs and plants were. And I had this little book that we made, mm-hmm. and it has like, I have it somewhere, I should have brought it out, but it has like all the plants and everything we went through and like what they can do. And as when I got older, I compared them and they're actually right, like compared to like with a lot of the books that I have that are like Wiccan and pagan faith. And I was like, wow. So early on, I was like introduced to a lot of stuff like that, and a lot of like rocks and minerals and stuff that had correspondence and stuff. But I didn't know that it was like, oh, my mom didn't say, oh, it was pagan, because my mom was not raised that way.
Your mom's kind of like hippie though, isn't she? Like, yeah, I love your mother. Oh yeah, she is. I do too. Sweet. She's super grounded.
Yeah, she is. I know. She was like, I kind of raised you a little hippie, didn't I? And I was like, yeah. My sister's a little too hippie though. She's like, she's anti-vax hippie, but it's okay. To each their own.
That's not how we get herd immunity, guys. That's not how that works.
Yeah, we're all about vaccination on this channel. So, herd immunity. But I got into when I was younger, I called myself a Wiccan just because I was like, oh, that's what I knew. And then I learned about, oh, there's all these other different faiths, and oh, there's an umbrella term of paganism, mm-hmm. and Wiccan is something that's under it, but it's not like everything. It doesn't encompass all of it. It's one subset or sub faith kind of paganism. There's many different things.
Before we get too much further into your story, I do want to let people know when we are talking about paganism, we are talking about a faith that is not under, let's say, the core 5. I think it's the core 5. Let's pull up what Google says paganism is. When we're talking about paganism, we're not talking about Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, and I know there's another one, but Google characterizes paganism as a religion other than one of the main world religions, specifically a non-Christian or pre-Christian religion. Modern religious faith movement incorporating beliefs and practices from outside the main world religions, especially nature worship. So when we're talking about paganism, we're talking about everything that is not a monotheistic faith, a monotheistic path. Let's stick with our terms, path and craft. So that's what paganism, when we're talking about paganism, that's what we mean. I'm so sorry for interrupting. I figured we should
you're
probably
totally
get
fine.
that
That was
away.
a good that was a good time to put that in. I think it was perfect since we were talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to be honest, I really got more into it because of Tumblr, one of those. At first I was like, oh, it looks so cool. And then I got a book, and I have the book.
So would you say that you got into the craft first, or the
I got into the craft first. I got into the craft because I was a skeptic. I'm a huge skeptic. And because when I grew up, I was like, I'm an atheist. I'd be like, screw going to church. I'm just going to go for the perks. I really hated it. And I really was really adamant that I was an atheist and I would never accept any other kind of God or anything like that.
Honestly, my brother went to church because they gave out free bread and water. That's why my brother
always
church, okay.
And it's only like this much.
In Mormonism, he was like, it's holy wonder bread. You know, I have little brothers. They were little brothers, but it was, you know, because Mormons we don't drink, you know, and every fourth Sunday we fast. So not even during that part would we actually get water and bread. But man, were my brothers really happy when they saw those silver trays getting passed around. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Let me just get some. No, I like that. There was this one youth group I went to that they had a Starbucks barista area. It's actually here. Yeah, I went there a lot because of that. It was free.
The little perks of faith.
Yeah, right? Just little perks.
So what's the book that you had? I'm sorry.
This book, it's Wicca for one, The Path of the Solitary Witchcraft, because I'm a loner and I hate groups.
Oh wow, Raymond Buckland.
I like people. Yeah, it's Raymond Buckland. I could have said who it's by. I have used and abused this book. I still reference it a lot because I like it. It's got a lot of information on general magic and the faith and I can never say it properly, but the esbats, ESBATS.
Esbats, I think.
Esbats. There we go. And the Sabbaths. So and it's got a small reference section for stones. Very small. And I only use this because the internet is hard to cross-reference. So for stones, I only use that. If it's not in there, I got to order a new book. So,
well, I do have some book recommendations, and of course, you're always welcome to my library.
That's I still have a bunch.
You do still have a bunch.
But that's how I got into it. Is I was originally just on Tumblr, being a Tumblr aesthetic witch, you know, being like, oh yeah, this is so cool, grabbing all my random shit and just not even researching it really. And then I decided I'm gonna actually get a book, and someone else recommended this. I don't know. Someone else on Tumblr was like, get this if you're really like serious about looking into it. So then I started more getting into learning about the faith behind it. And I got more into that, like the path, and like I started blending more of a craft and faith, and I'm still on my path to finding my path. Because I'm still very new, because I probably was about 10 years ago, because I was still in high school. And so,
I think a lot of us start when we're children. That's when what happens is like the mysticism starts as we get older, of course, especially around maturity, when our bodies start maturing, puberty. I think the mysticism of our daily life start to dissolve, and we really yearn for that quality back, and so we start questioning things. So I think a lot of people, you know, around high school, middle school, they start, you know, looking into other things, especially when, you know, these classic faiths, I say classic, even though as a historian, they're not. But some of these faiths that we've been brought up in don't answer those questions. You know, they just don't. When you're, I'm going to use a quote, okay, from a Kevin Smith movie. from Dogma. Faith is like a glass. When you're little, that glass is little. But as you grow, that glass gets bigger. So when you're little, the amount of faith in that glass, it's full. Your heart is full of God and universe and all the wonders. But as you grow, that the amount stays the same and the glass gets bigger. So there's less and less faith in there. And I think we really try to refill that glass with whatever we can find. So I don't think, between the both of us, we kind of went searching for something and we found this. So why don't you tell us about how our paths crossed, how we got together?
Well, we're working at the dystopian nightmare of an insurance company, which I don't know if we'll say a name, but
let's not say a name. Let's not give it power.
1.5 stars. We'll go with
honestly,
the dental has that actually.
My husband was looking at them just the other day as an option. I'm not They're my dental kidding. Plan. I was like, no, anybody but them, no.
It's bad, yeah. But we were in training in the training group together, and we always had lunch together. We always had lunch. I
want you to give your first impression of me, and then I'm going to give you my first impression of you, and be instantly. Honest, absolutely honest. Okay.
I knew you were going to be the mom friend. You were going to be my mom friend because I'm always the mom friend. I was like, no, I found my other mom friend. So I was like, we're going to be mom friends. But I was like, she's going to be super welcoming. Yeah, you really you're always like super welcoming, and you always have something that someone needs. And like you were saying, you always can find something. You always have the solution to something too. And you always, I don't know, you made working there just so much better. You brought all the coloring stuff.
I did.
All of it. I still have it. I still use it.
It's still color here and there. It's in the same bag that I brought it home from work. Okay.
Yeah, I have it in my drawers.
He's like, what are we gonna do with this coloring book? And I was like, we could put it in the bag with the other ones. He was like, there's a bag of coloring books.
I have a whole drawer full of them.
So my first impression of you was that you were super energetic, and I did not know how to handle you, so I just fed you cookies, which probably was counterproductive.
Give me more sugar.
Made you more energetic. But yeah, that was my first impression. I was like, oh my gosh, she is super high energy. What am I gonna? This is gonna wear me out. I need to put her in a coma so she can chill out. I can focus.
Just put me in a food coma and I'll be good.
But yeah, I mean, you did hit it on the head. Like I on my resume it says I provide solutions, not excuses.
I like that. I'm writing that down. Sorry, I'm stealing that from you.
I actually stole it from an ex.
Oh, well, perfect. I provide solutions, not excuses.
Yeah, I have this.
Shouldn't have done this with a Sharpie.
Probably not, but man, you should you have a huge area of your wall behind you. You should put that up on your wall. That's your affirmation. Provide solutions, not excuses.
Mm-hmm. That is good. And then my mom will be like, you're always giving excuses to something.
Okay, so then how did we meet with our craft? So that's how we met.
We were at lunch.
Was it? Because I think I remember it differently, but I want to hear how you think our paths crossed craft-wise.
I have a really bad memory, but I remember we talked about it at lunch. Mm-hmm. After we mentioned it. I can't remember. Were we in class?
No, we were actually in the parking lot. I was getting ready to leave. And I was like, yeah, I got to go home. I have a whole bunch of incense bottles I need to do. And you're like, incense bottles? Right. You one of those incense people? And I was like, actually, I'm a witch. You were like, oh, me too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's how I was like, I gotta bait her real quick. Are you one of those incense people? Yeah. I bait people. I'm like, are you one of my cousin goes, are you spooky? That's what
I know, that was so funny.
It's like, yes,
what do you mean? Spooky.
Like, do I like Halloween or am I spooky? I mean, both, but
I mean, I did get married.
yeah,
Yeah. I met my
yeah, that's a fact.
husband on.
That's a fact. You did get married.
I did. I did get married. I met my husband on Halloween. My whole house has harvest stuff like this. It says "Falling in Love." That was actually at my wedding. He's giving me looks. um, and
You
then
don't have a live, love, laugh too either.
no.
Right.
Oh no. Oh no. No. Nope. Nope. And then I remember bringing up, oh yeah, I have a little occult shop, and that's how we became partners. Like we joined forces. And
I didn't even join there. I just wanted to...
You just kind of like were like, heck yes, I'll do this. This sounds like fun. And I remember like you telling me I've always wanted to do that, but I never had somebody who was like, hey, we got to get stuff done. And honestly, I could tell other people to get stuff done, but I need somebody with me to get stuff done myself. So it just kind of like it worked really well. So that's how we got here. So I know you were saying that your path, you're not quite sure what your path is. I know my path is Western European. So we're talking Celtic, like Irish, Welsh, Scottish, English based. Sometimes there's some Scandinavian elements because Wicca is kind of borrowing from all of that. What path have you found calls to you?
The Western European path, mainly because I am Western European mostly.
And so, DNA matches, check that out.
I want to, speaking of that though, I do want to get like an actual ancestry test because I am adopted. So I'm adopted and I might know my birth mother, but she's in Florida.
Well, maybe we'll go down that path together. I mean, I already did mine. It was not surprising to me. It really wasn't. So maybe we'll do that in the next episode or something. Like
what I was trying to get at was though is my birth mother, I was like, she's adopted too. So it's like that's my brain just farted. So that's why it's hard for it's like the knowledge she's given me might be accurate, it might not be accurate. So wild. So sorry, I was like, my brain hecka just farted too. I was just like, because why? She lives in Florida, I guess.
Yeah, like, it's Florida. It's Florida.
Florida
have you seen Florida Man?
Exactly. Florida Man. That's why I won't live there because I will definitely be a Florida man. You'll see me on the news.
Actually, don't doubt it. That's the sad part. Oh my gosh. Okay, what questions do you have? Let's keep this conversation going.
More questions. Okay. That was good. Now my brain farted.
You're stuck on Florida.
I am stuck on Florida, man. Because I am Florida man. Oh. Okay. So one thing I hope we can talk about though and discuss is location based, like using the environment, things that you have versus like while something you might, I don't know, like for like sage, white sage, for example, using that, is it native to around here? Like can you grow it and sustainability?
That's an excellent question, to be perfully honest.
It was a very poorly worded question, but
I know what you're getting at. You're asking
yes.
If okay, so this I know is going to be a touchy subject. There are some things about the craft and different paths that have been appropriated and some that have been just not necessarily appropriated, but maybe even appreciated. So one of the things I know we were talking about before was the aesthetic witch that is commonplace. You find it on YouTube, you find it on Instagram, you find it on Amino, which we are on Amino. If y'all want to follow us to talk to us, we are on Amino.
My notifications are on. I get on when I get on.
Nobody wants to talk to us. That's why. I mean, I have a lot of followers, but nobody wants to talk to us.
I know.
We also have some really good resources on those. I have a whole series that I love to share with people.
Oh yeah.
That's
She's
I
a
love
really
that
good
series.
series.
I love that series.
Yeah.
It's stuff that I tell my apprentice. I like that series. I haven't written in it a long time because I've been working on my book. Um, anyways, so let's get into white sage. Okay. For those who don't know us, we are located in California. White sage is native to California. White sage has been used in a ceremony called smudging, and it is a close practice to those indigenous of California. It is not endangered, contrary to what yahoos on the internet are saying. It is not endangered. It is being harvested, um, not incorrectly. It is incorrect. Okay, it is being harvested haphazardly. There is the fear that because of this trend, this whole into let's cleanse things, let's look into our mystical side. White sage is the go-to, which of course, yes, go and buy your white sage, but please make sure that you're purchasing it from a respectable native source. Please, please, please. These cultures know how to harvest it, they know how to source it. This is their livelihood. Please do not go out of your way to find a cheaper, unethical source. Again, it's not endangered. It's not an endangered species. In fact, a quick Google search will tell you that it is not an endangered plant species. Um, However,
Just grow it.
you can grow it. I have I have a white sage plant out on my patio. Uh, you can grow it. You can find greenhouses that will sell you a plant. They can be expensive because they are, you have to go out into the desert to get them. They are a desert plant. On the other hand, you don't have to use white sage. End all be all, you don't have to use it. If you are more comfortable negating that out of your practice, do so. There are alternatives. What white sage is it's just a plant. You're using the smoke to cleanse. You're using the air to cleanse something. You can also use the earth to cleanse. You can also use water to cleanse. You can also use fire to cleanse. I don't suggest the fire bit because stuff can explode.
It's fun, but you gotta be careful.
I mean, but that's what, when you're casting a spell and you're burning something as an offering, that's a form of cleansing it. You're releasing that out into the universe, the energy out into the universe. So there are other things that you can use. Use an incense cone. Use an incense stick. If you don't want to use white sage, you can use blue sage. It's very expensive. It is something you can use. You can use uh, lavender or purple sage. It's the same thing. It's still a sage plant. You can use Palo Santo, although, again, if you're going to use Palo Santo, get it from a respectable source that is doing it sustainably, as well as with an eye on its cultural significance. Okay. So there are ways to use these things. There's a proper way. We will never say smudge on this channel. Because we don't smudge.
Unless we're saying we don't smudge, we won't say it.
We won't say it. We're not smudging. We are smoke cleansing or something like that, but we are never smudging.
Cleanse it.
We do use white sage. I know I use white sage. In our products we have white sage, but again, it's ethically sourced.
Yeah. And one thing is, like, I know that I used to say it, smudge. I'm gonna smudge this area. And like I used to obviously say it, but now I don't. And it took a while for me not to be in that habit of saying it. So I mean, this is kind of like a PSA. Don't attack people, just educate. Yes. That's a way better thing, because if you just attack someone, people instantly, not everyone, but most people shut down and are less receptive if you're yelling, oh, you're being a bad person, you're smudging is cultural appropriating. It's
and
just
you don't even have to educate. Like, one of the things that I do specifically on amino, because space that there's a lot of young people on Amino that have absolutely no clue what they're doing and little to no interest to actually doing the work. They just want the answer handed to them. I will ask them, what are you doing? And almost every single time I post, I say, what path are you on? Because that is important. You cannot tell someone who is walking a different path that they are doing something incorrectly. You have no idea what they're doing. Like I said, I am walking a Western European path. If Kayla here, I'm just going to say you walked the voodoo path. I don't know if you are qualified. I don't know anything about that. It's none of my business. So if you ask me, hey, what does this mean? First thing I'm going to ask you is, what's your path? Because what a butterfly means in the voodoo tradition is going to be different than what a butterfly means in the Western European tradition. Same goes like what a butterfly specific. Let's go a little bit more specific. Okay, what a monarch butterfly means in the Santeria tradition in the Mexican, Latin American craft or path means something totally different to what a monarch butterfly would mean in the Western European path. I wrote something on this very clearly. I used coconuts though, because that was just a better metaphor. But in my path, a butterfly is a butterfly. It doesn't matter if it's a monarch or a Luna, a moth. Not that the Luna moth is a butterfly, but
you're talking about some Skyrim moths there.
No, actually, there is a Luna moth. You should look it up. It's a gorgeous thing.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up because I'm just thinking of the Skyrim moth. I
know you were. I know you were.
Like, I need to catch it. I need its wings.
So, like, to me, if I see butterflies in my dream, the butterfly to me might mean change. But if a butterfly crosses someone in the Santeria, Latin American, Mexican magical traditions, that could be the sign of somebody's death. Okay, so
is that for real, or is that
no? That's for real.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like,
because I'm not on that path, so but that's interesting.
The Day of the Dead coincides with the migratory path of the monarch butterflies.
Okay, that's right. That's why I saw that one post with the woman in the really amazing monarch.
I know, wasn't it awesome?
That was amazing. Look that up if you haven't, anyone, because that was amazing.
It's a gorgeous picture. Very, very, very gorgeous picture. I love her makeup.
It's amazing.
It is fantastic. So, I mean, if you ask me, what does a butterfly mean in my dream? Are you what path? It could mean a million things because I don't know what your path is. What your sign to you means is going to be different than what my sign to me is. I was to the coconut again. I'm Irish based, Celtic based. A coconut will never mean anything to my practice.
Yeah, because they weren't. It's not native.
It's not native to the Irish Isles. Never, ever, ever going to mean anything to me. I'm never going to have a use for it. I'm in California. There are palm fronds everywhere. Can I use any of them in my craft? Nope. Do I want to? Nope. That doesn't mean it's not useful to someone else.
They're spiky.
So
I have them.
I know that right now we're all trying to be sensitive of other people's cultures, but unfortunately, it's gathering people who don't know enough.
Yeah.
And it's just hurting people who actually do know what they're doing or have been initiated into a close practice or something along those lines. So I think we all need to just be a little bit more mindful about how we approach things. Maybe if you are on a forum and somebody says, well, what is this? Can I use this? The first question everybody should ask is, what's your tradition?
What's your path?
What's your path? What's your craft? Because we don't know unless we ask.
It's the best question.
It really is. I mean, I think it could waylay a lot of problems, especially with the transfer of information as it is these days, because we do have, like when I was growing up in the past, we didn't have the ability to go on Google.
You didn't have the Google?
the Google probably existed, but I was on diet. Okay.
Yeah, same.
There were better things to do. Yeah.
That fun noise.
Oh my
That might
gosh.
have given a lot of people flashbacks.
Some people don't even think that actually was real. I know. Don't look at me that way. I know somebody didn't think that was real. They thought we were making it up. Anyway, so
I found a whole box of floppy disks the other day.
Oh my goodness.
Whole box.
Really?
Yeah, I want to. I need a computer that can read them though. So
was it the 3.25 inch, or were they the actual floppy disks? So
there's a bunch of different. There's 2 different kinds in there.
Were they the big
There's
ones?
some big ones, but then there's also some small ones. So there's 2 different kinds.
Yeah.
They're like this big, and then there was one that was a little bit bigger. So there's a couple different kinds.
The reason it was called a floppy disk is because it was that big floppy one. You could really damage them, and then the floppy disks became like this big.
Yeah, they came hecka small.
Really?
But yeah, I should go look and see what's on them.
That was a really good question, by the way. I'm glad we got that one out of the park. That was a really good question. Do you have another one for me?
I did.
I have a couple percolating for you as someone.
All right, you go first.
So I know how I got my information, and I understand you said you went through Tumblr. As somebody who has that kind of resource like the internet these days, and first getting into your path, what is the thing that you are finding most common that really sets people back?
Quite a few things, actually. I think the number one thing, though, is not doing their own research and just taking the first person who comments or the first few people's comments words for like as gold, as like the word of like the gods or whatever. That's the most common thing I see is people just like, oh, what does this mean? Oh, it means this. And then, okay, no actual research, no, where did you get this information from? Just, oh, that's what it means. And like you said, no asking, well, what's your craft? Like none of this. Everyone just assumes that it kind of all blends together, because there are a lot of people who like to say like, oh, I'm an eclectic witch. I take from every single practice, and path. Sometimes even they say they take it from all sorts, and they might, use everything. But then there's someone who might just just use like the voodoo path, they just use things for that. So it's a little hard, when you're just, oh, no research, just that's all you get. But that's one of the, I think the biggest things, no research, just lazy people don't want to do it, just take everyone's word for granted. That's a big thing. I think the second biggest thing is doing it just for the aesthetic, just to be cool as a trend. Now, it's harder to distinguish who's actually doing it, like who's fake or not, because they could claim, oh, you're just mad at me because I look so cute or whatever. Don't hate on me just because I have all these crystals or whatever. Like, I got a shit ton of crystals. I'm sorry. I got a ton of crystals, but I'm not flaunting them. Like, that's like, I like to show them off occasionally when like it pertains to something I'm doing. It's not like, let me get 500 crystals and let me put it in my water bottle. And people like, you can really tell once you start looking into the person's post whether or not they're fake, or whether or not they're really into it based on, are they cleansing their crystals, with the right things, or are they going to put selenite in water? Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Like recently I saw someone was painting a room with selenite. I don't know. To me personally, I don't see, it just dissolves. And now they're painting their room with it.
So
I don't know. That's a good question. If someone knows,
I like that you're bringing up rocks and minerals, and I do. I will use that term mineral instead of crystals, because not every semi-precious stone is a crystal, but they are all minerals. So if you are a rock hound, and I know a lot of people are, trust me, I have my own pouch of collected rocks.
I love rocks.
They actually don't have anything to do with your practice. They're not part of the craft. They are not part of the craft. They are a new age type thing. It has to do more with energy flow. I mean, it's not to say that I don't have a moonstone that I wear on a particular week. It's not to say that I don't have a lot of quartz crystals. It's not to say that I don't use them, but they don't go on my altar and they don't go in my craft. They just don't, because they're two different things. They can be used in conjunction, but they are, it's like I don't know, putting pierogies with your chow mein. It's yeah, it's still a dumpling, but it doesn't really go with.
Pierogi, all right. The pierogi.
I like pierogies. I really do. But they're not Chinese food. You've never had a pierogi? Oh my god.
I might have.
Oh, okay.
Really
get the
bad
pierogies with the green onion.
Okay, I'm gonna have to get that.
Think of them. Basically think of them as like ravioli stuffed with potato.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, I think I've had that then. Yeah, definitely had that because that sounds amazing.
I'm Irish. We love our potatoes. So
I love potatoes. Mashed potatoes is my favorite food ever. You can throw anything in mashed potato, to be honest, and I'll eat it. So
it's a complete food. You can sustain on mashed potatoes forever if you just add the little bit of salt and a little bit of butter/milk.
Shit, I would die if there was a potato famine.
I know. We would totally not survive the Irish potato famine of 200 years ago.
Yeah, I would have died. But yeah, back to the
you don't like the aesthetic.
The witch aesthetic. I mean, I like them, not gonna lie. I 100% enjoy falling for the aesthetics and everything. I just get, my beef is when they're selling a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
And that's what we're gonna call it. We're not gonna sugarcoat it. It is bullshit. In order to make a ton of money off, especially new starting witches. If you want to call them baby witches, that's all you will get. No. I don't call them baby witches. Just don't call them that to me.
We are not using that witches. Term.
No one's a baby because you're always growing.
Exactly.
No baby. No one's a baby. You're always learning.
Let's get that out of the way. There's no such thing as a baby. Okay. None. No such thing as a baby witch. Why? Because babies need someone to take care of them.
Yeah, and I ain't here to take care of you. I'm here to help guide you.
Exactly. I'm learning too. You have an agency. Babies don't have a lot of agency. They can't fend for themselves. You calling yourself a baby witch is taking away your own power. And the whole point of the craft is to empower ourselves. And as a community, we need to help each other. We need to raise each other up, not give this idea that we are inadequate. Okay. And that's not our purpose. Our purpose is not to make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. Our purpose is to make sure that you have the right information, or at least know how to find that information. And so to learn kind of from our mistakes. Because, like I said, I was learning in the 90s when we didn't have a lot of resources other than books that were very expensive when you're in high school and you don't have a job. And the internet that is just filled with, I don't want to say bad information because no information is bad.
It's an overflow.
It is an overflow, and it's not categorized correctly. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Somebody needs to get in with the Dewey Decimal System and fix the internet.
I learned it for a reason.
I think there's just way too much, and because there is way too much, people are losing the sight of what they're trying to learn. So I will agree that that's one of the things that I've noticed. Like on our business Instagram, which you guys can follow if you want to, that's all up to you. You'll see Mistery on there. He's being very shy. I think. Oh, he's behind me.
I like how I looked too for your cat. I'm definitely in your house.
He's right back here.
There you go.
Sleeping.
There he is. Oh, he's so precious.
He's so cute. He's adorable. He will be in the videos eventually.
When he wakes up.
But I make it a point to follow other occults. We'll call them that. Other occult businesses. Because we are all in this together. And that brings me to this next thing. I know we're kind of late to this party. But what were your feelings seeing And I'm gonna have some feelings on this. I'm gonna ask you first though, because you are newer to the path, the craft. But what were your feelings seeing that guy? Um, I don't know his name. I'm never gonna learn his name. I'm not gonna give him a platform. But that guy during the Capitol raid, what were your feelings when you saw that?
Well, my initial feeling was, oh my god, that's wow. Oh, I made that face. I was like, and at first I
This
didn't.
is the face I made.
Yeah, that was me, and I didn't believe it at first. I thought it was some whatever. And I also thought when my friend told me about that it was happening, I also thought it was happening here in Sacramento, the Sacramento capital of California, and I was like, oh, it's happening up here in, California. No. So I saw that, and then I was like, that doesn't look like California. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh.
I was at work.
And I was shocked, though, that honestly, like, they got that far, to be honest. Like, that, the show of force compared to, like, BLM versus
Black Lives Matter. We are very Black Lives Matter, by the way, on this channel.
Always.
Always.
But
we support our sisters.
Stark difference of like force. I mean, everyone was talking about it, obviously. It's really disturbing because you see them using, pepper spray and everything. Even here in California, down in LA and up in Sacramento, there are people who are getting shot at and everything with rubber bullets. I know people who got the leg, the stomach. No one, luckily, that I knew got shot in the head, but a lot of people got hit with that stuff. And then you see here, they just let him in. Like there was that one, I forgot his name. Do you know that one officer who was at least like, he was all alone and he was trying to stop them at least? Like,
honestly, I
can't remember his name, but
I feel really bad.
No one else was Russian.
Know his name. I know.
I gotta look it up.
Yeah,
I'm looking it up right now.
So in particular, though, when you saw that guy, what were your feelings?
Like, what do you mean? In what sense?
So, like, when I saw that guy, I thought, okay, now here we as a community have been trying to distance the idea that there is a sense of white power in the Norse traditions. And here is a guy wearing Thor's hammer on his skin and Yggdrasil on his skin and laying siege to the Capitol building. I thought as someone of a pagan tradition, I was like, well, we're gonna get blamed for this. There's witches and there's deviants, doing these horrible things, and we're all gonna get lumped together. Now I know that those who are prominent in the Norse tradition have already spoken out against this guy. I mean, to me, Yggdrasil, that's a symbol of my faith. I have Yggdrasil all over my house.
I just got a really cute little garden stone.
Really? I love the Tree of Life. It's a perfect metaphor for everything. I mean, you've seen them. There's two of them burned onto my altar cabinet, again, because I consider myself a mystic druid. Everything is connected. Everything is connected on everything,
I agree with that.
And to see him wearing those sacred images, I cried. I cried in my car seeing those pictures because I was at work. So
it's disgusting. It disgusted it. No, yeah. Going back to those images, they're disgusting. To be honest, at first I didn't even focus in on them. So I didn't even notice them. I saw his stupid ass hat and his stupid ass face, and I just focused on that and what he was doing. But then now that I brought the things up so I could look at them. I know that's a big, no, you're good. That's a big thing with like people not understanding culture, for one. Like, people will go get tattoos that will in like Chinese or Japanese writing or Arabic writing, and they have no clue what it really says.
No.
And it could say, "I smell like cheese." And what they think it says is, love forever, or some cheesy or romantic or badass quote, something. Awful. And it's wrong most of the time, unless they're fluent in it. We don't know what their language path is. I mean, but still, most of the time they're wrong. And it's I really hope it's something like that, where he just thought it was cool looking and he's not part of the pagan faith at all. That's me just wanting to hope that, he's just, I think it looks cool, because tree of life is pretty, I've seen that used in a lot of imagery for a lot of things. Thor's hammer is look at Marvel. Marvel has taken Thor and he's like, I am now a Marvel hero with the best dad bod ever. And
I love the fat Hemsworth. Anyhow,
I wish it wasn't a fat suit. I wish it was how he is. I know.
I do have a fat Hemsworth at home.
I just have my imagination. So I can just dream it up. There he is.
The reason that I brought this up, though, is because to tag on to your aesthetic thing, I have seen, especially on Facebook, not on Amino, these people who are like, well, this is my faith, this is my path, and I'm going to wear it out, I'm going to wear it proud, and F everybody else. Like, unfortunately, you are going to be the face of this community for whoever you come across. And all it takes, because we're technically fringe, all it takes is that one guy in the Senate chamber with Thor's hammer and you yourself tattooed on his body for everybody to be painted with the same brush.
Yeah, and that's an unfortunate thing with the social psychology of like our world, of like a lot of groupthink. Is that the right word? Wow. I'm a psychology major and I can't even think of the right stuff. But a lot of times, the mob mentality, and people will just, especially with the first thing they hear is the first thing they'll remember. Like with false rape accusations, like if it comes out that wasn't true, that person is still shamed. Or like false murder and like stuff like that. It's like false accusations. Well, this is the face for all pagans, and then pagans come out and say, no, like this isn't us. Well, they'll remember that first initial newscast that said pagan man storming our great Christian values, even though we're a nation of many faiths and separation of church and state. Still, I mean, that's a whole other politics video. But
that's a whole other video.
That's a whole can of worms. Bag of worms. I don't know, can of worms, but I like bags of worms too.
I mean,
it's a whole bag of potatoes.
It is a bag of potatoes.
Whole bag.
Well, I mean, again, it came up on Amino once that they were like, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and again, I recognize that I have decades of experience now. And some of these people are starting out new and they don't have that example. But unfortunately, this has now become an example. And I beseech everyone, yes, be true to yourself. And this is, for everybody listening, including you, Kayla, because I know that sometimes we have doubts on our own faith in ourselves. But I would like everybody to just take a deep breath and realize that we're all in this together. Like Idrisel, everything is connected. You are my sister just as much as you are my friend. My husband.
Unfortunately, you can't get rid of me.
No, you're like a fungus.
Yeah, exactly. I am the fungus on the roots. Crawling my way up.
Oh my gosh. My neighbor. Hello. My neighbor is my sister in humanity. It doesn't matter that she is from a different tribe than I am. It doesn't matter, we are all in the state. We all were born the same. We're all going to die the same.
Together.
Eventually, we'll all be fertilizer. Some of us more chemically treated than others.
Yeah.
But you know, we're all it's secular, you know. So
turn my ash into a seed and plant it, or whatever it is. It's fertilizer.
I have
and then they plant it with a seed.
asked my husband to make sure that I'm either a tree pod or wildflowers. Said probably not wildflowers because somebody with a lawnmower would take me out. But
yeah, be a tree. Strong as an oak. It's a
oaks are
Watsky
sacred.
song.
Oaks are sacred.
There's a ton around here.
There are. California is littered with oak trees.
I gotta send you a cool picture of an oak thing later. We can put it at the end of the video. Really? It's really cool. It's really cool.
So that was my question. What's your question? And then we'll wrap this up because I think we're at about an hour.
Yeah,
I have to publish this in 2 pieces.
I had a question, and as I was flipping through my book real quick, I saw it. It was in the beginning because it reminded me of something to ask you that was important about. Oh yeah, offerings. I have a question. So this might be pretty simple to answer.
Okay. So this is we're talking about, just so everybody's clear, because we're gonna stick with these terms. I'm gonna make sure that Kayla and I are on the same term list so that every video is kind of standard. So we're now going to a path instead of a craft, right?
Yeah, this is a path. Well, it's kind of crafty though. It's more of like, what do I do with it when do I just bury it? Is that like the best thing to do with offerings?
So that's an excellent question. Okay.
Because I've had so much conflicting stuff, so I just bury it usually. So yeah, please
tell. It comes back to, what is your tradition? So when you this is gonna open up a bag of potatoes. Okay.
Worms, yeah. See, a bag of potato. I like that. We're gonna use bag of potato forever.
We're gonna use bag of potatoes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason that I'm saying it's going to open something up, because we need to discuss some other things first. Okay. When you have an offering, that is something not for me, not for you, but for something unearthly, right?
Right.
That is for your deity. We'll say God, we'll say goddess, we'll say your patron. There's a lot of gray area in there and where everything fits in. Okay. Offerings are also different depending on what. Okay. It's hard to explain.
No worries.
If you are, we'll take me as an example. Okay. So I am, I know you know, but not everybody else knows. I am a devotee of the Morgan. If you want to follow me on Amino, you'll actually find me as the Morgan's vassal. Okay, vassal meaning someone who is in service of. I am in service of the Great Queen, the Morgan. She is a Irish deity. She called upon me. I did not seek her. Okay. There is a difference between somebody who worships and someone who serves. Okay. A deity can call you to service. Okay. They will send you signs. They will infiltrate your dreams. They will put themselves in your way and make their presence known. That's what happened to me. I was actually the devotee of a different god, not even in the Celtic pantheon. Believe it or not, not even in the Celtic pantheon, devotee of another goddess. And we'll get into how that happened. We'll probably do that in a follow-up video. We'll get into how patrons can really get in your way. Okay. So my offering as a
they can get in your path.
Yes. That was smooth.
And punny, okay.
That was very smooth.
Thank you.
So my offerings to the Morgan are different than as someone who is just worshiping her. Now you can worship whoever you want. If you want to go to Yoheshua, you can have Yoheshua as your patron. You can be, well, not a patron, I'm sorry, as your deity. That's somebody who you pray to. You make a prayer, you're praying to Yoheshua. For those who aren't in the know, that's Jesus Christ.
I wasn't in the know.
So if you are praying
Good to
to
know.
Yeshua, that is the Hebrew pronunciation of Jesus of Nazareth. If you are praying to Yeshua, that is your offering. Okay, you are offering your thoughts, your prayers. Okay? As a devotee of the Morgan, yes, I offer my thoughts and prayers. But I might also leave something on her shrine. Okay, this could be something that is known to be a favorite of hers, like red wine. It could be pomegranates because they resemble rubies. It could be
smart.
wheat. It could be river water. It could be whatever you have the urging to give to your patron. Now, a patron is somebody who has called you to service. Okay, it's not just who you're worshiping. Those are two different things. Calling to service and worship, two different things. Okay, they do get interchanged quite a bit. I'm going to try very hard to make sure that they are separated for our conversations. Okay. Again, this is all my experience, my learning that I'm passing on. It could be different for another tradition. This is just how I learned it, not written in stone. Okay. So if you
So if I carved it on a stone, would it then be written in stone?
You're sneaky, sneaky bastard. Anywho,
a little bit.
So if for instance, I used to, because I haven't been great on it. She's probably upset at me, but she hasn't been sending me nightmares, so I'm not gonna worry about it. I used to, yeah, don't mess around with the Morgan. She will mess you up. Okay. On her altar, there is a wine glass. There is an offering plate. There are, symbols of that are associated with her. I know you've seen it. There's an entire shelf. It's I've even taken pictures and put it on. It's
nice.
There's an entire shelf devoted to her. That is her space. Now, this is a shrine, not an altar. An altar is something different that needs to be made plain, and that's the same all across all paths.
Shrines, making a note for the next episode. We're talking about this.
Yes, shrines and altars are two different things. If you're going to have an offering, you're going to put it on a shrine. Huh?
You cut out for a second.
Oh.
You were saying if you're going to make an offering, if you're
going to make an offering, shrine, right? Put it on the shrine. Okay. Don't put it on the altar.
Yeah, you cut out on my end, so I'm not sure if it cut out for you or not. So just in case.
So your shrine, your shrine is going to be to whatever it is. That is its whole purpose. Think of it as in most pagan Wiccan, we'll say that pagan Wiccan paths and crafts, a sacred space is a consecrated area. Okay, right. That you do your spellcraft in. Some people make their sacred space around their house. Some do it in their room. Some do it around a table in a room. Whatever. A shrine is a sacred space. Okay, it is a permanent sacred space.
Yeah,
meaning that you don't move it around. I mean, yes, you can move it if you're moving, if you're rearranging your stuff, yeah, you're going to move the cabinet or whatever. But the stuff that's on it stays on it, unless you're switching it out for other things. Okay. So, for instance, my shrine to the Morgan has crow. It has paintings that I've done. It's got cornucopias. It's got pumpkins. It's got a lot of orange and reds, and it's her space. I want to make it welcome for her so that she knows that she has a space in my home that's just for her. It's supposed to be kept clean. It's supposed to be kept neat, and you don't really want to put other stuff on it that does not need to be there. Okay. So when you have an offering, you don't want it to rot. Okay. So if you have rainwater or river water, because she's associated with rivers and cows and all that kind of stuff, I'm not going to let the water mildew. I'm not going to let it go rancid. In fact, I do have a vessel of river water drawn from the Sacramento River, along with some of the sediment. It's corked and it's waxed because I don't want anything else in there but that. Now, when I leave her for Samhain, if I'm leaving her an offering during Samhain, because that's her holiday, it really is her holiday.
Best holiday.
I might leave her some, like I mentioned, some pomegranate seeds. I might leave her some wine, but that's not going to stay there forever. I will take that and I will dispose of it properly in a sacred manner. Like you said, burying it. But it depends on the tradition. Now, some people are like, oh, I'm just going to drink it afterwards. Why not? It's red wine.
Isn't that's part of a different ritual process?
That is a different thing. Totally. And some deities, some patrons don't mind that. It depends on the deity, depends on the tradition. That being said, do not put offerings on your altar. That's not what your altar is for. Think of your altar as your workbench. And that is true of almost every tradition I've ever come across. Even Catholicism, the altar does not stay up. It is a workspace. Things get used and then they're put away.
That's something I had to learn recently too.
I think that was one of our first lessons.
Yeah.
When I came over, I was like, this is a really nice spot. What is it?
It's my altar. It's my shrine.
Oh. I was like, are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't think was I mean about it?
No, you didn't even say anything while you were there. It was later I was asking you about something about it and then you mentioned it and I was like, because I had mentioned that I helped one of our other friends set it up at her house and stuff. And then you told me, you're like, oh yeah, by the way. And I was like, oh.
I think I also,
it was very
about
casual.
The same time that I wrote the whole thing because, oh my gosh, most of my stuff is on
then
Amino.
I read it because,
most of my stuff is on Amino.
You should tag it.
There's a lot of people that need some help and even though the information is readily available, specifically on the application, a lot of the users have gone to great lengths to research and add that information. The users don't go for it. So I just basically reiterated what was already there and made sure that it was accessible to the people who were on at the time. And I think that's about the same time that we had that conversation.
Yeah, it was because I remember you were like, oh, go check this out. I'm like gonna write it. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
But I have a bowl. I made this ceramic bowl and I usually put like my offerings in it.
That works.
And I put it currently has an offering. This is TMI real quick. It's not nasty. It's like 9 months old and it has 5 cherries and a deer tooth. And it doesn't smell like anything, but it looks like it would be just the most foul smell ever. But it doesn't smell like anything. And I just haven't done anything with it because I was like, I don't know what to do with it. And I was like, I'm just gonna leave it. And so I just left it.
If it's a food item, we'll do it this way, okay? If it's a perishable, it needs to be disposed of. Because you don't want it to sit there and rot. You don't want it to because if you think about it this way, think about it as your home, okay? Because this shrine is a home to whoever you've dedicated it to. It could be an idea, it could be a deity, it could be a person. I don't know why you would have a shrine to a person, but people do.
Because I am my own god.
People had shrines to John Lennon, so why not?
The Jim Morrison grave up in France is like a shrine.
It is a shrine. When you go there. Is a shrine.
It's wild. I love it.
So think of your shrine as like a home. Okay, that's your personal space. The shrine is the god's personal, or the idea. We'll go with idea. Okay, the idea's personal space. If it was your personal space, would you want rotting food in it? No, because what does that invite in? That invites in bugs and that
Yeah.
places that smell.
Well, luckily
Nobody
there's
wants that.
nothing.
Well, now because
Yeah.
it's petrified at this point.
Hell yeah.
So if you have a perishable, it is best to dispose of it.
Yeah.
Depending, like when it starts showing signs of decay, that's when you dispose of it. I will never, because my shrine is in my home, I will never leave raw meat. I will never leave
Oh
meat
yeah.
in general. Never, ever, 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 ever leave meat in general on my shrine. But that's me. Um, I will leave vegetables, I'll leave fruits, I'll leave liquids. Make sure that if you're giving an offering plate, it needs to be dry. If you have an offering chalice, it needs to be wet, and never in between shall they meet. If it's going to be dry, it's going to be on the plate. That's it. Even like the dishes that if you guys haven't checked it out yet, at Mystery's Mystical Cupboard, we have offering plates and such like that. Those are for dry goods. They are not
And
meant to
don't
be
eat on them.
washed. They are not meant to be washed. They are not meant to have edible food on them.
It's an
And that's because
offering.
they are offering plates. They are pieces of art. Like we actually painted those, with
If you want,
intention.
yeah. If you want something that you can eat off of, like if you're part of the, like in this book, they have the cakes and wine. It's my favorite part. I'm just kidding. The dancing's my favorite. But get yourself a food
Safe
safe
platter.
platter. Yeah, get
Especially
a
if you're
platter
in a
or
group.
like a rimmed one too.
Mhm.
Because then you can have the option of something like you throw your wine in it or something, then
Exactly.
you slurp it up like that. But yeah, get a food safe. If you're intending to eat or drink anything, always make sure that you're getting something food safe. Even if you want to paint something, paint the outside if you're not going to eat it,
not the inside. And
nothing
but
that we
if
have
it's
is
an
like
offering,
that.
it's an offering, it should never be ingested by you. That's
yeah, it shouldn't be for
it
you
should never
anyway.
be ingested from you. Now, if it's a non-perishable, you offered, like you said, a deer tooth. You offered a deer tooth on your shrine. When it was time to remove the perishable, you take that offering and put it on the shrine. It now has a permanent place on your shrine because that is in your God's house.
Oh, okay, so I'll do. Okay.
So like next time you're at my house and you see my shrine, there are things on that shrine that have never been used because they're not mine anymore.
They're not yours. Yeah, I will have to do that then. I'm gonna have to redo. I have to reconsecrate everything. So that whole area over there needs to. I haven't touched it in a while because the leak. Remember the leak I had?
Yeah.
That closet leaked in there, and it almost came all the way over here. So there's like a tiny corner of things hidden away that I need to redo because it got.
Okay. I need to
my whole shelf got destroyed.
Somebody, Mr. Fuzzface in particular, got into the altar cabinet. So the mini cauldron, the substrate, which was just rock salt, all over the place. Because I was dumb and didn't close it. He was like, "Oh, I can sit in here." No, not for you.
Okay. It happens.
But that's also why you don't have your altar up. You always take your altar down after your workings, after your craft. An altar is not a sacred space like a shrine is. An altar is a workspace. It goes up as part of your spell, and then it comes down as part of your spell. All of your tools get put away. Nothing stays there. Why? Because it needs to stay clean. It needs to stay clean. Because as long as it's a sacred space, as long as it's a sacred space, everything on it is sacred as well. And you don't want dirt and cat hair and on your sacred jewels.
All the gunk. Dust. I mean, dust gets on anything. Wrap it in a cloth even makes it nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I wrote about this on Amino. I know I told you know what my altar cabinet looks like, but you've never seen my altar.
That's right. I know what it looks. Your altar cabinet looks like, but I've never seen it put together.
Exactly, because an altar is a personal thing. I will never, ever, ever share my altar. I mean, that might change when my path change, or my craft changes. But right now, kind of like my book of shadows, you'll never see it. I'll never post it.
That
because
makes me
those
think
are
of something too. Sorry, continue.
those are personal sources of power. So you don't want, you don't want the dirt and the grime and stuff like that to give them the power. That doesn't make, to me, that doesn't make sense. Why would you want that kind of crud blocking up your power? Now, again, this is my craft. It could be different. Like I know in Wicca, other people, especially when you have groups, when you do rituals together, of course you're gonna share the altar because it's all gonna be together in one, and people are gonna see it. But it still doesn't stay up. It goes, it is set up and then it's taken down. It's never a permanent thing. Shrines are permanent, altars are not.
Right. I think we should mention that. It does. And I think next time we should go over coven versus solitary type of practice. And because a lot of people feel like they need to get a coven in order to be justified in what they do. And not every practice is coven based, and not every path even has covens. Like,
yeah, I actually would love to talk about that, because that's something that not just on Amino, but I get asked quite frequently when people find out what I do. That's one of those things. They're like, so do you do this? Well, so I think honestly that's a good spot to end it. I want to invite everybody who's watching, though, if you have questions for us, post them. We will answer them. It may not be in the subsequent episode, but it will come up. And I'm actually really interested in what people have to ask us.
Follow us on Amino, and you can follow our shop Instagram, and I'd be fine with you guys following my personal Instagram. It's not always faith or practice based at all. It's really a lot of random stuff. But our shop one is. But we should, because then if we don't answer it in the next video, because maybe we don't, maybe we'll find time to answer it one-on-one.
Somewhere on there, or maybe we'll be able to answer it having already answered it. It might be something that we get asked a lot, because I know that you've come up with questions for me before, and I was like, you know what, let me write this out. And I've spent a good 6 hours researching and writing something, and it then just takes off with a whole bunch of other people. So we'd love to hear what questions you have for us. We'd love for you to just follow along with us. We're just going to have some conversation between the two of us, and maybe sometimes we'll have somebody else join the conversation with us.
And if you find anything cool, if you find anything cool in the news or anything that you just want to share, like that you want us to talk about, or I'm always here for the tea. I'm ashamed, but I'm always here for the tea.
We should get teacups.
Always. We're getting teacups. It's instant. It's already happening. First episode, we're getting freaking teacups already. Teacups. And I have my coffee right here, and I didn't even drink any of it.
Oh, I didn't have anything.
7 p.m. and I'm like, coffee.
Dude, I've been sitting here looking at this dressed 7-day candle this entire time, like thinking, why haven't I started this? Ooh, maybe we should talk about candles next too.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna write that down. I've already made a list of what we're gonna start next time.
Bullet journal point, candles.
I'm totally putting them on flashcards.
Dude, you should.
My bullet journal is totally in my car.
I have like 4 bullet journals now. The 3 mini ones, and then the big ones.
The one with all my like ideas is in the car. Do you know how many flashcards I got? Don't worry, I got plenty of flashcards if we need them though.
I do too. All of mine are pink though. Surprise.
Mine were 25 cents for the uncolored ones. So.
Mine were like 35 cents because they were clearance. By the way, I'm the queen of clearance.
That's true. You are.
Mine were thin and pink though. I didn't care if they were extra 10 cents.
Mine are thicker than your peasantry over there. I'm just kidding.
My goodness.
Mine are pretty thin.
Well, I want to thank everybody for going this far.
Oh yeah.
This is
thank you for continuing to the end.
All over the place.
Y'all can see my cute, or I'll even show them my cute Star Wars bit things. Look at those.
Cute.
I know, I found them at Walmart.
Is it sad that my favorite main character of that whole epic saga of the two main characters, I'm going to lay this down. People aren't going to like this, but there are only two main characters in Star Wars.
And you know who it is? It's C-3PO and R2-D2. That's right. No, I'm with you with that. They're in every single movie.
R2-D2 is like my
He's
soulmate.
the number one.
He's honestly, he's my spirit animal. He is.
He's seen everything because sassy. He's never been rebooted.
Exactly. That's why he's so sassy. So, okay, gonna geek out here. Here's some guys, here's some bonus features for you. Okay, I'm gonna geek out. So my uncle, wrote the game mechanic for the tabletop Star Wars space battle. Okay, he helped write that. Published. This is like back in the 80s. Okay, this is
in the day.
This is pre D20. This is like the D10 system. Okay, he helped write that, the Starship Battles. Okay, so I was raised to play D&D. I know, really weird for Mormons. Okay, but we played D&D. We played D&D a lot. And played Star Wars. And now none of this is canon anymore. Okay, but it was considered canon at the time. Little note here: Mace Windu was ripped off, like George Lucas ripped Mace Windu off of his own thing. Mace Windu was actually like a different race altogether. He was not a Jedi Knight. He was not part of the Jedi Council. He was like a secondary, only in a game setting character. Okay, I kid you not. So he ripped himself off from that. That's awesome. But in the manual, it says that if you do not maintain maintenance on your droids and have them wiped regularly, the program will have anomalies, or otherwise known in the techie world as bugs. So R2-D2 has never been wiped, and he does remember everything. Everything. He knew who Luke was when he got to Tatooine. He knew who Obi-Wan was. Obi-Wan remembered him, and he is sassy because of it. He is so sassy. In fact, they said in one of the tech manuals that because he's never been wiped, he's got one of the most foulest mouths ever. And he actually has almost every single option available to his type of droid. He has been worked on that many times, and he is probably the Resistance's best agent because of
he is instantly. He also knows how to not get shot. Like,
and that's also why C-3PO is so vapid. He is so annoying because he is constantly getting his memory wiped. But because of R2-D2 being basically the living memory of these 3 different generations, he's too valuable to be wiped. They can't do it. He's got so much data in him, but he has got the most incredible attitude problem because of it.
What if so like, this is so random, but we can cut this out if we need to, unless you want to leave it in. But the whole the psychology thing of if you have a ship and you replace every single part of that ship, is it still the same ship? Now with C-3PO, if you wipe him every single time, is it still the same C-3PO every single time? So that means he's not a main character. It's just R2-D2.
That would,
so you can bleep that F word, but
yeah, Pikachu that out.
We're gonna have to all make a whole separate video. At the end of the next video, we will discuss it again.
Yeah.
We'll just discuss random crap at the end of it.
I mean, I think it's not a bad idea.
No, it's not. People can stay if they want.
Exactly.
Eventually we'll do it live.
Do it live. I'll do it live.
I'll do it live.
My husband is probably just done with us.
He's
I'm
like,
gonna go. I hope you have a great night.
you too, all right?
I had so much fun. We will
Me
talk
too.
soon, all right?
We will. I'm going to send you some pictures.
Awesome.